The year is 2104. Humankind has expanded beyond Earth into the near solar system. The expansion has gone inward as well, with the creation and near universal adoption of the system, technology that allows a direct connection between every consciousness on the planet Earth. But not everyone believes these developments are a benefit, and they'll do anything to stop it. 3 Pound Magician presents Clarion Dawn.
Good afternoon, Captain Anderson.
Good afternoon, or fake afternoon.
The Ozark runs on a 24, so it is indeed afternoon.
Let's go with that then.
Good. Good. Are you ready for a system check now?
I think so.
I'll need to hear it.
I am ready for a system check.
Who are you?
Captain Kenneth Anderson, identification number 34-5589A.
When are you?
April 27th, 2104, 1750 Eastern Standard Time.
Where are you?
In transit between Earth Relay and Mars, aboard commercial vessel the Ozark.
And what story do you tell yourself?
The story of a young man pulling on a magic ball of yarn.
And
if I pull on the yarn, it just keeps going. There's no end to the piece of yarn.
What does the yarn stand for? What does it all mean?
It means that I have to answer these questions the same way every day. That's all it means, as far as I'm able to know, as you know. Knowing thyself and all. Anyway, at a certain point when you pull on the string, you just keep getting more string. That's all I've ever been able to figure out.
You made up the story. This is your story. This is who you are according to you. You know why these prompts are necessary.
I've been told why they're necessary.
I want you to know you are cared for.
Voice from a screen. Could be any old voice.
Isolation engenders this form of speculation. Losing your sense of identity and your connection to the outside world is not a desirable outcome.
I've been out of my head for 2 days. Still trying to get a hold on the cycles out here. And Jesus, the disconnect. Oh, the disconnect is killing me. I feel like I'm floating out here. Just like this ship.
For most of your adult life, you have been hooked into a networked consciousness. Now, it's just you. The adjustment would take some getting used to. Your shared responsibility requires you track towards the first checkpoints within the next few days.
But I feel so goddamn sick all the time. Every time I move my hand or lift my head, I feel like I'm sleeping with my eyes open. It's like phantom limb or something, you know?
Not at all unusual that you'd feel that way. I'm going to help you through this.
I genuinely appreciate it. I'm committed to a consensus on my progress, you know.
Is that so?
Yes. You don't have to dig all the way down into me to thread me. I'm here. My body is on this ship. Going to Mars. I'm all in.
This is good. No second thoughts about volunteering for this assignment?
Not as much, no.
That's good. We want to manage the process of disconnection. You seem to be struggling a bit more than our consensus projected.
I thought a partial connect would do more for me than this.
As did we.
I think the longest I've ever gone was for a few hours during the last brownout. And even then, that was nothing like this.
We are working on additional coping tools. In the meanwhile, consensus is that you should interact with the crew as much as possible.
Say that again?
The crew.
The actuals out there?
Yes, the crew of this ship.
They're weirdos. They're closed-loop types, haven't been connected in years. Limit interaction. That was the process to follow.
It was. New consensus has been reached.
I'm supposed to be undercover.
You are undercover, as an eccentric. Eccentrics are permitted to walk about the ship.
Then I'm doing it correctly. sorta. I have plenty of time to get my head right.
You could have chosen a different class of accommodation. This one is rather bare bones.
I like flying industrial. It's quieter. No water slides.
It also gives you the least degree of interaction with other passengers. We are having some difficulty with the consensus on this.
I won't be alone. I'll have you.
If that was enough, you wouldn't be having these problems now.
People, not a problem. It's the system that gives me problems. Even feeling the way I feel, worth it. If I can get a little break from it.
No longer pulling on the end of a string.
What was that?
I believe we completed enough of the system check for today. Shall I patch you in then?
Yes, let's get it over with.
Authorization?
Phi Epsilon 1212.
I appreciate the touch. Authorization confirmed.
Colonel Pelton.
Captain Anderson, how are you holding up?
As well as can be expected, given the disconnect. Have you ever had to shut it off like this? It's like withdrawal from bad drugs.
You did volunteer for this.
Oh, yeah. Well, that reminds me. System, can I get a version confirmation?
Authorized version copy April 27th, 2104, 1500 EST, full LVX scan, complete authorization, all cycles.
Wow, still a fresh copy, huh?
No stale thoughts for you, Captain. I thought it would be important before these kinds of check-ins become next to impossible that we get everything set.
Excellent. Updates?
There is still little in the way of communication between the Clarion Dawn cult and anyone topside, Mars, Earth, or anywhere else for that matter.
So that makes it 5 years and one more day. The new manifesto must be a hell of a barn burner.
We have no strong indication one way or the other.
About a new manifesto?
About anything. Our last eyes were neutralized. Looks like it happened some time back. We just didn't realize it.
How could you have not noticed that no data was coming your way?
It wasn't that no data was coming our way. It was that the data coming our way was spoofed. It wasn't real.
They knew about the operation?
Just like with everything else we've tried, they've somehow been able to see us coming.
Do you have any idea how long we've been getting spoofed data?
We're still combing through everything.
Meaning it could be months worth of nonsense.
Meaning if they were able to do this, with our most sophisticated technology, we can express significantly less certainty about all our previous surveillance. It could be years, it could be everything.
Faking it like that? That's a very sophisticated job, isn't it? These people are Luddites. They hate the system. That's their whole gimmick. How can they hate technology, but know how to use it better than we do?
Unclear. Non-consensus item.
Is it possible their thinking has changed on the system? I mean, if we're getting into the details, the Luddites appreciated nuance. Technology is value neutral. Only what we as humans put into it, that kind of argument. A variegated consensus, if you will.
There's no such thing as a variegated consensus. That's what makes it consensus.
That's exactly my point. We shouldn't assume that a group like Clarion Dawn are always on the same page. Their system, their lack of a system, is going to breed conflicting points of view. Read up on Earth history and...
We appreciate the historical perspective. Clarion Dawn has been hostile to our shared technological infrastructure since their inception. They destroyed quite a few, looms before we stopped them.
That's for sure.
I can't imagine anything has changed. That's a consensus, by the way.
Which tier?
All the way up? We're all on the same page. Nothing changes in overall objective or mission status.
Protect the looms.
Exactly. They're still out there. You're still gonna infiltrate. Eyes or no eyes, that's the consensus.
So how far back do we have to go before we have good intel?
We caught one of them on Earth 1.5 years ago.
Oh, I remember. A very fine actual, that one.
We were able to extract quite a bit.
I built a few ghosts. Thinking I'm going to dig in with this one a bit later.
Emery Jackson.
Yes, Emery Jackson. Been a good set of ghosts for me.
I think we might have something better.
Better than a recently captured member of the cult? Love to know what that might be.
We have reached a new consensus on Genya.
She's bad. Is there anything new to say?
Amusing. In light of the latest hitch, we've received authorization to provide you with a more appropriate series of ghosts with which to conduct your profiling.
You mean a Genya ghost? I thought there wasn't anything to build on.
That's not entirely accurate.
Oh?
No, not entirely. Genya hasn't had access to the system.
It hasn't had access to her, you mean?
In a long time. No job applications, no media use, no psychological profiles, banking information, nothing to build a profile out of. But she wasn't always this way. When she was younger, much younger, she was intimately involved in the initial psychological profiling tests. Her work at Stanford actually was one of the first steps towards successful duplication.
How am I just hearing this now?
There are ongoing system integrity questions regarding wide dissemination of information on Clarion Dawn.
Return to clarity, that it?
Careful with your comments.
What?
Return to clarity.
Oh, right.
This ghost, some of us were not sure whether, even now, it was too dangerous.
Even from her younger days? Must be a hell of a ghost.
Hers was truly a unique neurological configuration. There are still threads we have not been able to close.
Old data.
The best systems are built on old data. We believe it's a very comprehensive simulation of her, as she once was, at least. We've upgraded it with our latest software. We think you'll really be impressed with the results. It'll be as real as talking to me now.
I'm not really talking to you now.
Are not. It's fluid.
Sure, yeah.
And your sickness. You mentioned some trouble with disconnect.
I am feeling, what the...
Is everything okay?
Maybe. Sounds like some engines went offline. And now the lights. Let's, get back to this conversation. Let's pause Pelton, yeah?
Your conversation has been paused.
More to come, boss. Hey, Samir. What'd you do?
When and where? I've done so many things.
The ship. What's going on, anyway?
We are adrift in an endless nothingness.
I meant in the narrower sense, regarding the sounds. Regarding our clear engine distress kind of sounds.
Ah, yes. I sometimes forget we have a passenger outside of us.
I'm here. Adrift as well.
Drive is acting up again. Shouldn't be long before we've got it all sorted.
Not your part of the assigned tasks?
Me? No. I mean, if we're going to the original net reading, no. I'm not an engineer.
I apologize for not having asked this prior, but what do you do?
I'm a poet.
That a standard task for this kind of commercial vessel?
I'm a sysadmin, but if we're to expand to the stars, we want to fill space with beauty, don't we? There are plenty of structures out there built of right angles and well-laid plans. The discursive must be allowed in places as well.
Flying a ship like this out past the system, is that an artistic statement?
In so much as anything can say anything, no. We simply enjoy a unique consensus, this band.
A consensus that involves poetry.
Everything is poetry. That is a part of our consensus, yes? The ship, the space, our course. Don't you see the lyricism of that?
Poetry isn't really my thing. Not a lot of call for it back on Earthside these days. I hope I'm not interrupting your, lyricism.
Having you on board is a brilliant addition. The unexpected, the variable, every great poem needs these additions. All of the other stuff I do, I could get into the details, but you wouldn't understand them, and without a link to our closed loop, there's no way to make you understand.
We all have stories we tell ourselves.
We will get to where we're going. I'm confident in that.
A poet's promise.
The truest kind of all.
Thanks then. I guess I'll get back to it then.
Wouldn't you rather hear some perfectly paired verse?
Right this second?
I will open you up eventually.
I'm looking forward to it.
We always end up there, Kinnick. We always end up there.
Good afternoon.
Good, afternoon again.
System check.
The yarn is exhausting me.
Recursion bothers most minds, no matter the limit.
Let's get her started again.
Authorization?
Phi Epsilon 1212.
Welcome again, Captain Anderson. Shall I begin your conversation where you left off?
Yes, please.
Genya interrogation. We'll want you to be aggressive on this one.
Shouldn't be difficult.
Let's go ahead and fire up a ghost or two. Should make this go easier for you. Consensus is Alpha 1, Beta 4, best fit for this.
I'm not involved in consensus making any longer. I'm not sure I would have chosen those.
Your latest authorized ghost shows these. We're all together on this one. You're absolutely vital to system integrity, Captain.
Are you booting her up now?
Might be worth bouncing a few things off these two ghosts ahead of time before you dive in.
Let's do it. Close out Pelton, please. Boot the two she referenced.
Done.
Interrogation time. I thoroughly enjoy the intellectual exercise.
Alpha 1, Beta 4. How are we today?
Raring to go. All is well, sir. There's nothing better to invigorate the thinking apparatus than a good fight with a worthy adversary.
I can think of a few worthier than our current adversary.
The main moonbat, the chief cultist.
It is rather unusual, this new consensus on the Genya ghosting.
But that's what we do when we're in the field. We roll with the punches.
Her background at Stanford should be a useful starting point. She was the youngest PhD candidate in their history before she dropped out of their computer sciences program to start Cerebral.
I want to skip the cerebral stuff.
Perhaps some of the data from the test profiles she worked on? Let's get a consensus on Stanford before we,
No, before or after. There is only now.
Integrity check? Integrity check.
Integrity compromise.
System check? System check. Oh, great. Hello? Samir? Anyone? What the hell? System check. God. System check.
Greetings, Kennick Anderson.
Who?
Who? Yes, the right question. That's always the right question.
Are you Genya?
In a way,
I didn't boot you up.
I shouldn't have any way of knowing that. But we're talking now anyway.
System check.
Ah, the system. I'm surprised you're still using that term. It has mostly negative connotations for people. The marketing types spent so many hours coming up with different things to call it. My suggestion was human be-in. A little history joke. Nobody got it.
System check.
That's not going to work the way you think it works.
Who are you talking about?
You never found the name to be a bit odd? Vague?
It's a system. Integrity check.
Now that's something we all could use. Nothing is functioning the way you think it is. Let's start there. It will make everything so much easier.
I don't understand.
Good. That's a great place to start. Isn't it liberating? Being allowed not to understand? Not having an understanding created by other people encroaching on you?
Is this conversation really happening?
Let's see what happens if we start pulling on the thread, shall we?